Often we see books which would be perfect for an altered book junk journal, or we make our own hardcover, or like in my case here, I have a postage stamp book cover that I don't like. So let's have some fun decorating a book cover like this together and see if we can make it something that feels more like us. Welcome, this is Barbara from Vienna, Austria. So this is a postage stamp book that I had purchased quite a while ago at my Goodwill for only €2. It's upside down actually. And even though it has some nice stamp images here, I just don't really like the overall look, which is why I haven't been using it. So it's completely empty, which is a shame. I could very well use this, but I just was not feeling it. So that's why I thought I would change this finally and take you along and hopefully inspire you to find a way to change some of your book covers that you might not like either, and maybe that's why you are not using them either. I'm going to start adding some cheap white gesso as a base coat, and then we'll add some more colors and some other things. I don't know what yet. I haven't really planned this out yet, but I'm going to just start off with a coat of this white gesso, and I'm going to try using my sponge brush because this is a lot wider than any of my paint brushes that I might have. So let's just add some gesso here. Looks like it will probably need 2 coats of gesso. And it might even make sense if you have a very smooth cover like I actually do here. It might be a good idea to first sand down your cover a little bit to get rid of some of the gloss. I should have probably done that. Okay, I'm gonna let this dry and then we'll just add a second coat. I have quickly dried the first coat with my heat gun, so now I can go ahead and do the second layer. If you don't have any gesso on hand, you can also use white acrylic paint for this. Maybe you'd need another coat then. And I'm also going to go over all of my edges. Once the outside is dry, I'm gonna go to the inside and make sure that all of my inside edges are completely covered as well. And this I'm going to do with a smaller brush. I'm not worried about keeping the edges neat because I will add some paper or cardstock on the inside. And also don't forget the inside of the middle part there. And once this side has dried, I will do the same on the back side. Once all of that is dry, we're going to go back to the outside cover. And I'm going to start putting down a layer of paint. So take your color of choice in acrylic. I'm going to take this chalky paint in gray. So there's a lightish kind of gray, and there's, I don't know, it doesn't say what color it is. Oh, ginger. So it's a very, very light gray kind of color. So maybe I'll mix the two or something. I don't know. I don't even know if these are still gonna work. I've had them forever. Haven't used them in a really long time. So let's see if this will even work. Okay, this still looks fluid, so that's cool. Very, very liquid. So I'm just mixing them and seeing what happens. And this time I'm going to take this foam brayer that I have just because I want to try it out. I'm not sure if this is the best method, but let's just give it a try. It is, yeah, as I thought, it's of course soaking up most of the paint, but actually it seems to be doing a really good job covering the surface. Might want to add a bit more of the darker one. Once again, after this has dried, I will then go around the edges and also the inside with my smaller brush. Once the inside and outer edges are dry, I want to try adding some darker gray on the cover. This is called warm gray. And this time I want to put it on this plastic palette that I have, and I'm gonna use my hard brayer for this. And this might turn out very dark. I think I'm going to brayer this first on something else, on this scrap paper, which I can then use. I don't want such a wet coverage. I'm gonna need some more of this. And I think I'm going to end up sanding some of this off again and make the white gesso shine through that way. This is all very experimental. I have never done this, but I think it's fun to try to get some unique effects. And of course, the cool thing is whatever you don't like, you can just paint over. So you can actually do no wrong here. I know this looks like a hot mess right now, but hopefully in the end, we will have something nice. So I think I'm going to go over it with one other color, which will be then the top coat, which will be the color that we will see on the surface most. But by having all these different layers underneath, what I'm hoping is that when I end up sanding it down, that you will see some of these layers come through, and so that it gets a distressed look. All right, I'm gonna let this dry again. And now this might seem a bit weird, but in my mind, it could work. I'm going to add some black acrylic paint. This is again really cheap paint. I'm gonna cover the whole book with the black acrylic paint. So again, after this dries, I will then again do the edges and the insides as well. So once the insides are dry as well on the edges, the moment of truth comes. I have some sanding paper here. It's kind of like a medium, it's medium coarse, I would say. And I'm going to try to sand some of this down to kind of distress it and see if some of those other colors will come through. Kind of nervous about this. I can't tell you if this was the look I was going for, but this is what we have now. The next thing I want to do is I want to add a stencil. I have these here, which are really cool. I unfortunately have no memory of where I bought this from. If I can figure it out, I will definitely link them below. And I'm in particular looking at this one here. I think this one would be really nice in the middle of our cover. And I'm going to use my texture paste that I have made myself. I will once more link the video that I used to make this texture paste. I think it's fabulous. So I'm just gonna try to sort of center this. Gonna take away the pieces that I don't want. And once more, we let this dry. So this is one of these projects which is great if you don't have a lot of time. You just do one step and then do whatever you need to do and then come back whenever you have time again. You do one more step, you let it dry and continue so throughout the day or throughout the week whenever you have time. Once that has dried, I'm going to go over this now with the same black paint. And I think it might be a good idea to put the stencil over it again so that I don't color the parts that are not like that are surrounding the stencil, because I think that might look strange. So now it's much easier for me to paint this. Once again, I will let this dry. I know you can barely see the key now, but I'm hoping that what I do next is going to change that. I have this acrylic, it's called acrylic medium in gold satin. I just want to try this. I don't know if it's actually going to work. So I'll put some here. And then I'm taking like this brush. I'm going to like kind of dry brush it over it. Actually, I just want very little on here. I really had no idea this is what the cover was going to look like. Like, I had no idea that it was gonna be black and now gold, and I didn't know that I was gonna stencil on it. I just really kind of am making this up as I go along, just experimenting and seeing what happens, which I think is always super fun. Might be a disaster in the end, to be honest. The moment it looks a bit strange, I know. It looks very different in the camera than it does in real life. It's not as blotchy as it is here. This is very interesting. Okay, I'm going to do the same thing to the spine and the back, but you don't need to see me do that because you've seen that now. So I will first dry this and then just do the same thing on the back. So here's the back side once it's done. Again, in real, it doesn't look as blotchy as it does on the camera. Quite an interesting effect, I think. But now I want to take it one step further, and this is a great opportunity for me to use my copper gilding wax. So this one I have to do with my fingers because the wax needs to melt with the warmth of your finger. And I'm gonna go over this. And now it's really coming out. Every time I use this, I'm just in complete awe. I'm gonna try going over some of the parts again with the sandpaper because I think it might add to the distressed look. And just keep going back and forth until you're happy with the result of the level of distress. But you see, even though we have so many layers underneath, Now some of the book is again showing through. I might just cover it again with black. Maybe just use my finger. Maybe even add some more black here. I don't like all these very white edges now. Okay, I'll let this dry for a little bit, and then again I'll do the same thing on the back side with my gilding wax. So the back looks like this now. Moving back to the front, I have now decided to make this into like a steampunk style cover. And I found some elements that I want to use. But of course they are not the right color now. Look, there's this beautiful cameo. This was sent to me once in a Happy Mail a long time ago. I've been hoarding this because I think it's so beautiful. And now I think is the time to use it. I have this metal bee. I have these clocks. I have this leaf. I have a wooden butterfly and some metal gears. So I need to change these a little bit. I will color this with my black paint, and I think on these I will add first some gesso, then take most of it off again, and then I will add some of this gilding wax to all of these pieces so that it looks cohesive with the rest of the cover. So let's start off with the gesso. Let's see if that works. I've also never done this, so fingers crossed that this will actually work. Now I take some of this off again. I just want some of it left. This is my wet baby wipe again. I'm not really sure what I'm doing here. Okay, most of it came off. Maybe on this one I will be more gentle and not take as much off. Let's try adding the gilding wax. Yeah, it does give it a more distressed look than if you don't add the gesso. Okay, interesting. And finally, let's paint the little butterfly. Once that's dry, let's also add the copper wax to it. Oh, it's just gorgeous. And now let's arrange them somehow in the middle here. Something like that, I think. And I'm wondering if I should add a white feather. Maybe it's too big. I think I like the feathers. What I have decided to do before I glue all of these parts down, I'm going to cover the entire book with my art podge, which is basically like a matte medium, or kind of like a Mod Podge, a matte one. I just want to make sure that everything is kind of sealed in and that the color won't come off. I mean, it won't really, but still, I kind of feel better if everything is sealed in. So I'm just going to cover the whole thing with Mod Podge, and then I will glue these on. In the meantime, it is 2 days later, and honestly, I've been procrastinating for the fear of messing this up. Obviously, this is completely dry now, so this has the art podge on it, and I really like it. It has a light sheen, but that's totally fine for a cover. So now I'm going to add all my metal pieces. I think I'm not going to be adding the feathers after all, and I might try to do something else once these are all glued on. And I try to think about what is the best way to adhere these. I wish I had some heavy gel medium to attach these. I think that would be best, but I don't. Next obvious solution might be for a lot of you a glue gun, but I just don't really get along with my glue gun, so I don't want to fuss around with that. So instead, I think I'm just gonna go with my 3-in-1 glue. Probably not the best solution, but at this point I really don't know how to do it better. So I'm just gonna try this. I have a photo next to me on my iPad that I took when I arranged everything, so that I kind of know where pieces should go more or less. So hopefully this is going to help me now in trying to place everything. But still, I think it's kind of tricky. I already made a mistake because this goes underneath. I did change some things a little bit from when you last saw it. While I let that dry for a bit, I wanted to share with you what my thoughts are about what I'm going to try in addition on the cover. And I thought I could maybe try something with these Perfect Pearls by Ranger. Not sponsored. I bought these years and years ago. And this was one of the products. I don't know if that ever happens to you. I ordered them, and I think by the time I got them, I forgot what I wanted to use them for. And I kind of never knew how to use these. So these are like kind of a mica powder. They are beautiful, shimmery, pigmented powders. And you can see I have a pretty good range of colors. And they've been in my stash for years now. And I've never done anything with them because, first of all, I'm not a huge fan of working with powders because it's always messy, but also I didn't know exactly how to use them correctly. So I recently watched some YouTube videos to see how you're actually supposed to use them. And I have not tested them, but I thought I would show you the most basic use in case you don't know these, like I didn't know them. Let's maybe take this beautiful blue patina. Is what it's called. And what you're supposed to do is, usually I think you get a set of like 4 or something, and it comes with a special Perfect Pearl stamp pad, which is similar to an embossing stamp pad. But you can also use an embossing stamp pad. So I'm gonna do it with this because I never got a set like that. So I have this cute little flower stamp. This is Japanese. If I can remember the store I got this from, I will link it below. It's really cute. So I will put this in my embossing ink. And let's stamp it. And then you're supposed to take like a fluffy kind of brush, put it in your powder, and then you go over the stamp like this. And then you can tap it off. And actually you can go over it with another brush. Let me just take this one to get rid of the excess. And then you have this cute shiny image, which is really cute. And the way to fix it so that it doesn't rub off anymore is just by misting in the air with like a little spray or mister bottle. And then you just kind of wave it through. The thing is, I don't even have a mister bottle. I have a spray bottle, so I could only like directly spray this. I mean, we can try it. I don't know if this is gonna do any good, but because the drops are too big, you're supposed to mist it lightly. So this is definitely not misting lightly. And yeah, I don't think that's working very well. So I would need a mister bottle, but yeah, okay, just so you have an idea how these are usually used. But I thought I'm gonna try something else. I thought once this is dry, I would mix this maybe with some Art Podge, the pigment, and then tap that onto my book cover with maybe this brush. So that is my experiment. Again, I haven't tried it yet, so let's see what happens. For my book cover, I'm going to try out this Perfect Bronze color. So let's put some on the palette. And then let's add some Art Podge. So I have no idea how this is gonna look on our book. It completely changed the way it looks. Okay, we're just gonna try it. I will just start by kind of dabbing it on some pieces. Not sure if you can then actually see it now before it dries. Maybe going around it as well. Could be that we won't see this at all, even after it dries. Okay, now I'm just kind of going over the whole thing. It's taken a life of its own. Yeah, I have a feeling that we're not gonna see any of this once it's dry. So maybe I need to add a different color that would be a contrast to the bronze somehow. I've cleaned my palette. And I'm going to try this Forever Violet, which looks like a super nice purple. I need to add some more. All right, no risk, no fun, right? Okay, this we can see. I don't want this all over. Okay, I'll let this dry and then we'll see what it looks like. So this is pretty much dry now, and you can see, I mean, the camera is not picking it up super well, but you can kind of see there is a purple sheen throughout this area of the book. And I've also added some of that to the back side, even though you can hardly see it, and the spine as well. So I'm kind of starting to have fun with these now. So I kind of want to add some more. I think this is one of these things, once you start, I think you can't stop. So maybe one of these, like a more pinkish tone. We have this Interference Red. Doesn't look red at all. Then there's this interference violet and interference blue. What shall we do? We could try the blue and the pink. Let's try the blue maybe first. Looks very light blue here. If you are someone who is afraid to experiment, someone who is afraid of messing up their page in their junk journal or something, then let me tell you, if I can do this on camera and publish this for everyone to see if it goes wrong, you can do it in your own junk journal that you actually don't have to show anyone if you don't want to. So if I can do it, you can do it. Very interesting blue. Kind of looks purple again. I'm not sure you can tell a difference between the blue and the purple on this cover. It pretty much looks the same. Of course, we have a pretty dark background, so I'm guessing if this would have been a light background, then we would totally see the difference. Again, I will let this dry. This has dried now for a bit. It's not 100% dry yet. You see here where you still see some of the white purplish shining through. I think that's not completely dry yet. But otherwise it is dry, and yeah, I know you can barely see the purple. I see it. Also on the back, I've added both powders. So it does have quite a cool look, actually. I wish you could see it better on camera. I'm gonna leave it at that, I think. I wouldn't know what else to add here. There's probably so much more that you could add, but I'm not an expert in 3D. I love watching other people do it, but I'm just not experienced in it, and I don't like things getting too bulky either. So I'm just gonna leave it at that for now. But what I still need to do is, of course, the inside papers. So I need some papers that are big, because this is quite a big format of a book. I don't know the exact size, and it doesn't matter because you don't have the same anyway, but this is quite big, so I can't work with regular copied papers or with 12 by 12 papers. It just won't work. But I am very lucky because I do have this gift wrapping paper book. This is from a German company called Gerstenberg. I'm not sure it'll make much sense for me to link this. I did buy this locally. These are the 5 designs that are in this book. This is the information for anyone in the German-speaking world that wants to check that out. And it's very difficult for me to decide because I think all of these are gorgeous. I mean, they're just really beautiful. I think most of these would work. First, I thought I was going to add this one, but then I think now I changed my mind and I want to add this pink one just because we have this purple pinky, bluey micro powder on this, and I just think that will go better with it. So I'm going to take this out and then measure how large it needs to be. So I've trimmed down 2 of these pieces. One is going to be my end paper for the front and one for the back. And I have inked up all the edges with my Vintage Photo Distress Oxide as well. And the way I trimmed it was I trimmed it exactly the same height as this first page here. And I actually trimmed it a little bit wider so that I have a little bit of room in case I kind of go crooked, which is very likely to happen. So I'm going to start by gluing it on this side. I'm going to adhere this with some glue stick, making sure I cover the whole surface because I don't want to get any wrinkles or bubbles in my paper. And now I'm going to try to line the crease up with the crease of the book and the height with the height of the paper that I have on the right side. I'm going to get help from my bone folder. Okay, and I'm gonna put down the other side. And now I just need to trim off a tiny bit of the edge here. Just gonna go ahead and re-ink that with my vintage photo. And then I'll do the exact same thing for the back side. So again, I will cut off the excess here. So there we are, our photo album is completely transformed. I would say this is quite a unique book, and I think this method would be really fun for a journal cover as well. So I hope this gave you some inspiration to experiment with your supplies, and thank you for hanging out with me. Love you guys. Mwah! Mwah!